AITA for spraying the neighborhood kids with my garden hose? By Mr. AhOle 86. I love strawberries. I love them so much that I planted 300 strawberry plants in my garden. After I harvest, I make lots of strawberry jelly to give to my family, friends, and neighbors. I donate the leftovers to my local food bank. Lately I've had a big problem with all the neighborhood kids coming in my yard and stealing my strawberries. The last time I caught them I threatened them with the police because they were so reckless they smashed over 50 of my plants. I caught them in my yard again this afternoon. Instead of calling the police I grabbed my garden hose and sprayed them while chasing them out of my yard. I just had a group of angry parents come to my house complaining about my actions. Absolutely none of them was willing to apologize for their children's actions. One parent in particular is threatening to sue me, because her son's iPhone 10 was ruined with water. I told her that was her problem for letting her 8-year-old son have a $1,000 phone. Then I threatened to spray them with my hose if they didn't get off of my property.
AITA for having a wedding and not disclosing we were already legally married? By Brady and Groom 19. About 2 months ago, my husband and I got married in a beautiful ceremony. It was so much fun. We went on a honeymoon after. The price tag makes me wheeze, but my parents were insistent on paying for 95% of it, saying it's their only daughter's wedding. As a result, the wedding was way more fancy than something my husband or I could afford. My husband and I paid the rest, his family did not contribute, which is fine. The wedding was lovely, but missing one piece, the marriage license. About a year and a half ago, I was going through some serious health issues. The issues are resolved now, thankfully. I had recently graduated from school and didn't have health insurance. My husband and I decided to get married so I could join his health insurance. It was a quick justice of the peace ceremony. We were always planning to have a ceremony at some point in the future. A few months after that, he proposed, something I didn't see coming. The wedding occurred, and here we are today, planning for kids. Very few people knew we got legally married about a year and a half ago. We weren't trying to be deceptive. However, part of it was that I wasn't comfortable revealing my health issues. My husband respected this. My parents knew about our legal marriage, but his mother did not. His mom, I'll call her Carol, and I aren't close. She's fine enough in low doses, but we're currently in the process of moving. This past weekend, his mother came to help us pack up things. As we were packing files, birth certificate, social security cards, etc., somehow our marriage license must have slipped out. Carol picked it up and kept insisting we need to frame it. And then she noticed the date. Carol lost it. She insisted we lied to everyone. She said our wedding ceremony was just a gift grab. Our wedding website stated that someone's presence was gift enough. We still got many generous gifts, and we are forever grateful. Carol went and called her twin sister, my husband's aunt, and the sister called and lashed out at us. She said we were sneaky and deceptive. She is saying she may want her gift back, something we are fine with giving her. For me and my husband, the legal wedding was just so I could get insurance. A means to an end. Our wedding date is what we will celebrate. Are we assholes for not being more upfront? I've been really upset and confused and waffle back and forth. My husband insists we are not assholes.
AITA for grounding my daughter because she called my sil a slut? By judgmentaldaughter. My daughter, 14-yo, posted a picture of a family get-together on social media. A boy from school recognized her aunt from an adult film and messaged my daughter about it. I believe he sent a video to her as well. Before this, she had no idea her aunt was in the industry. It appears that boy spread this around the school and my daughter is being teased for it. I notified the school and they are looking into it and will plan to educate the students about sexism online. My husband and I are respectful and non-judgmental of my sil's profession and have tried to teach these values to our children. My daughter is understandably upset and I feel for her, but she is directing all her anger and blame towards her aunt. She unfriended my sil from social media and removed all traces of her from her profiles. She refuses to join us for weekly dinners at my sil house, and when they come over, she ignores them and just sits in her room playing Minecraft. I tried talking to her about tolerance, shame, and sexism, but she is dismissive of all of it. My Sil is hurt from all of this. Not only did she have her privacy invaded, but she lost a good relationship with her niece. Last weekend, I went upstairs to my daughter's room to try and talk to her and get her to join us downstairs. My daughter refused and referred my Sil as a vapid slut and her husband a pathetic cuck along with other slurs I don't want to repeat. I grounded her for 3 months and took away her internet. My husband definitely thinks that she should be punished for using that language, but that's too much. He also admitted he struggled accepting his sister's career path at first. He thinks she just needs space and will come around eventually because her aunt is family. Edit. Seems like my husband is right and I went too far with the punishment. I just never imagined those hurtful words coming from her mouth. I'm going to scale it back to 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. We'll decide with the husband later. We're definitely concerned for our daughter about what's happening at school and we're looking into therapy. For clarification, as for my Sil's privacy, she didn't consent to have her real name revealed to the world or have her films and her personal information be passed around by 14 yoke boys.
AITA for getting mad at my sister for not wanting me shirtless at her pool? By Shirt Problems. My sister and her husband invited me over to their pool today for a little barbecue. I assumed it would just be me, my sister, her husband, my nephews, and my parents. But turns out they also invited her husband's side of the family. When it was time to get in the pool, I changed into my swim trunks and removed my shirt. But my sister stopped me before I came out their house and asked to keep my shirt on because of my scars. She was referring to the scars from when I had my top, chest, surgery. I'm a trans guy. Had started transitioning 8 years ago and my surgery was 4 years ago. My scars have already faded and they're pretty well hidden under my pecs. You'd have to look really close to even notice. I've been to their pool many times and she's never said anything before, so I was surprised. Every other guy including my dad were all shirtless in the pool. When I asked what the prob was with my scars, she said she was uncomfortable with her in-laws knowing I'm trans. My feelings were hurt but I was mainly pissed. She said she didn't want her in-laws to look at her differently if they found out about me. She told me not to make a big deal and to go with it. When she left, I went back inside to change because I wasn't gonna go in the pool with a shirt on. I only had the one I came wearing because I didn't expect her to ask me this. My mood was soured after that and I didn't want to be around her, so I decided to leave. When I said bye to everyone they were all confused since I was only there less than an hour. My dad pulled me aside and asked why I was leaving early. I told him to ask my sister and left. An hour later my sister called me upset because she and my dad got into a fight. My parents were furious about what she told me and they ended up leaving early too. Now she's angry at me for ruining the barbecue and said I didn't have to cause all this drama if I only did what she asked. What she said hurt me and I was no longer in the mood to be around her or anyone else, but I didn't mean for all that to happen. Am I the asshole for getting mad at her and basically ruining their day?
AITA for 100% refusing to let my dad/mom see my child for something done 10 to 15 years ago. /petty by YEETYEEEEEEET. Okay, so this is kinda complex, I'll make it short. This ick is just for privacy reasons. I always had good grades in high school, was home on time, cleaned the house etc. I never had problems with my parents before this. I went to med school, still living with parents when I was 20, I dated someone who was 23. Dad was against this because B does not believe in dating people far older than you, so like don't date far from your own age, and says I cannot date J. Argument breaks out, Dad says it's his house so either I agree or I move out. I say it's not fair as J has a job, goes to college, has future plans etc. Dad kicks me out. Mom agrees with his decision. Little bro was only 14 at the time. I moved with J. His family was supportive, helped me with my college. I went to another college due to financial reasons, finished my required years but still kept in touch with my lil bro. Years later, me and Jay, with the help of his parents, got a small house. Like really small, but I'm happy with it. I ended up giving birth to a sweet baby girl. I let my lil bro know that he could come see her when he was able to. He came a few times. Today, bro came to see the baby, and asked when I was going to let mom and dad see her since they wanted to reconnect. I said never and that I wasn't going to forgive them. Bro says I'm being unreasonable as they were just strict and trying to protect me. I say that's bullshit because dad shouldn't have kicked me out over age. Bro says I should at least let mom come because she didn't want to agree with it. I say mom was able to do something but didn't, but that bro's situation was different because he was only 15. Bro is upset because he says mom and dad regret their decision and just want to reconnect and that I am dragging this entire situation. I told him that if he thinks I'm dragging it out then he can stay out of my life too. He's angry and says that I need to move on and that I shouldn't be withholding them from seeing their grandchild. I say that they disowned me and so have no grandchild from a daughter that doesn't exist. AITA? I don't hate my bro and I, kinda, get what he is saying, but I just have a resentment for my parents. It's not like I had a baby just to put it against them, but my lil bro thinks I'm going go die on a hill with them for something done several years ago and it's petty. I'm curious on what Reddit thinks. I want a relationship with my bro, just not my mom and dad. AITA for not sharing medical history before being pranked? By Drudawgthedrood. Heyo. I'm a schizophrenic. Started when I was 22, and will last till I die. I'm active in schizophrenic communities, go to groups, the works, but I am fairly private about it to most people to include friends. It's fairly common for people to think I'm eccentric, comes with the turf, due to some of my habits. Those habits include not going to parties or other places with lots of people. Suddenly deciding not to do something, I have to be protective not to do or go to certain things if I think a delusion might be coming on, saying the occasional odd quip, normal schizophrenic stuff. Some friends thought it would be funny to make it seem like I might be going crazy as a group. They would individually wear something silly like a wizard hat or dinosaur costume, Trek's blow-up costume, to a group event or say something totally out of the ordinary and pretend like it was normal. Police like to track people like you, COVID is just a way to microchip you, etc. These are very real scary thoughts to me. I would ask members of the group if they had heard concerns about these conspiracies or weird garb from the other members, but they all acted like they had hung out with that particular member that day and I hadn't been involved. I was really scared that this could have been a massive delusion morphing into a full psychosis, so I preemptively checked myself into a hospital to stop myself from potentially hurting myself or diving further into the rabbit hole common in schizophrenic community. I was so scared my medication stopped working. No one heard from me for a few days while I was in the hospital, and when I checked out I confided in one of them about what had happened. I got a really long apology explaining what had happened and I blew up at them. I have ignored attempts from the others trying to apologize and have no desire to talk with them again. AITA for not previously stating that I am schizophrenic. Edit people have been asking saying to post the length of the prank. Around 3 weeks. Edit 2 thank you for the awards and stuff, but I really want to highlight some of the messages I have gotten. I'm at around 150 messages and counting and am trying to respond to the ones where I can hopefully offer insight. Resources that I find helpful are /schizophrenia. For groups just Google schizophrenia support groups in my area, something will pop up and when you actually get there someone will have a further list. You get what you put into groups. You don't have to talk your first couple of times. But no one will look at you with a batshit look if you say reality check, is there a bird in the room or something in that regard. That did happen once and the audible sigh of relief from 8 other people and the laughter that followed was hysterical. Medication helps so much. It's the difference between being able to go for a walk with my dog and staying in bed all day. But it takes time. So many people have asked what drug and dosage a loved one should go on. I cannot answer that. There are so many drugs out there and different dosages. I can tell you that you, probably, will not have a noticeable difference in behavior in 2 weeks after trying a medication. You start small, and work your way up to a therapeutic effect, when it actually helps. It might take some time to actually get to feeling human again. Not every medication is meant for every person, but don't give up.
AITA for refusing to use the money I inherited from my mother to pay for medical treatment for my half-sister, who has a life-threatening sickness. She is the child of my father and the woman he cheated on my mother with. By Touch Off Space 84. When I was 25, we found out that my father had been cheating on my mother for years and he had a 7-year-old daughter with his mistress. In one split second, the happy family I knew was gone, and I went through the darkest time in my life. My parents divorced, and per their prenup, my mother walked away with most of their assets, since she also contributed more to the family income. She never forgave my dad for what he did and never talked to him again, though she grudgingly allowed me to have whatever relationship I wanted to have with him. I eventually forgave my dad mostly because I was tired of carrying so much anger and hurt in my heart. I talked to him, but I want nothing to do with his mistress or my half-sister. My mother died last year and left me everything: her money, her real estate assets, and her business, which I now own and operate. I am in a relatively comfortable financial position, while my dad is getting by. He was never a good businessman on his own and lost a lot of his money on businesses that later went belly up. This year my half-sister was diagnosed with a life-threatening sickness, and she has been in the hospital for the last 4 months. The bills are mounting and my dad came to me for help because they are now in a situation where they are finding it difficult to come up with money for my half-sister's treatment. The thing is, I don't want to use my mother's money to pay for the treatment of the child her husband had with his other woman. Though it's not my half-sister's fault, it feels so unfair when I think that the money my mother worked hard all her life for will go to a child that neither my mother and I have any responsibility towards, and the very same child of the man and the woman who hurt her so much at that. I'd really rather use it to grow her company and let my dad and my half-sister's mother figure out how to get money for her treatment. They are her parents after all. The only thing tying me to her is my father saying she is your sister, and if she dies because she didn't get the treatment she needs, would you be able to sleep at night? AITA? AITA for telling my father we'll catch the next one when he invited me to his wedding? By deleted. He's been married 4 times now, and this wedding will be his 5th in the span of 30 years. I don't know how he has such a high turnover rate, but I am guessing it's to do with him being both rich and a raging narcissist. He invited me to get coffee and introduced me to his new fiancée. I knew he was going to do this because 2 of my brothers, there are 7 of us total, none have the same mother, said that they had just gotten coffee with dad and met the fiancée, then been invited to the wedding, and both had been given A+1 for their girlfriends of 8 and 10 months respectively. Dad told me to bring my partner when I came for coffee, and I brought my trans boyfriend along. We have been together for 3 years. The fiancé seemed nice, wanting to know about me and my boyfriend and asking questions that sounded like she actually gave a shit. Dad gets all the details of the engagement/wedding out of the way and then asks me, and only me, if I'll be there. I noticed that he was talking to just me, not my boyfriend, so I say we will check if we're free. Dad replies that this is family only. I reply, I just assumed, seeing as how the other siblings got +1s. Dad says that's different. Are you coming? I say we'll catch the next one. Dad's fiancée becomes visibly upset and they leave. Dad texts me after that if I can be civil on the day then I can still come alone. I felt like I had to stick up for my boyfriend because this was definitely due to him being transgender, and he thanked me at the time but told me that I should probably still go, but after reporting back to my siblings to say what had happened I got mixed responses. The overall opinion was that while I absolutely should stick up for my boyfriend, this was some hill to die on, and I managed to catch the actually nice fiancé in the crossfire and upset Dad, too. AITA? Info: I am a woman. My boyfriend is trans FTM. Despite both of us being straight, Dad thinks of us as lesbians due to my boyfriend's biology. Of me and my siblings, 3 were within wedlock and the other 4, including me, were extramarital, 3 affairs, 1 long-term girlfriend. The fiancé knows she's 5 and Dad gives the same story about how he was tricked into marrying gold diggers by accident and didn't know until too late, and the affairs all happened as the relationships were breaking down.
AITA for asking my date for their ID to confirm their age. By welcome_to_favortown. I, 22F, went on a coffee date with this guy from Tinder after talking for about a week. On the app it said that he was also 21. When I got to the coffee place, he looked kinda like his pictures but a little younger, making me question his age. So, I decided to ask him if he wanted to get a drink later. He started acting kinda weird and looked nervous before suggesting dinner instead. This was odd to me because he had previously said that he enjoyed drinking. During the date he also said he worked somewhere else than he had told me via text, making the whole interaction seem off. At the end of the date I asked him to drive me home, and when we were in front of my apartment I brought up the inconsistencies between what he texted me versus what he said and asked to see his ID. He started crying and apologizing and showed me his ID. He was 18. I felt really bad for making him cry. ESPBC I didn't plan on going on a second date. I told my friend about it and she said I should have let it go and there was no need to embarrass the guy. So AITA?
AITA for telling a woman who lives in my complex that yes, having her husband check me out turns me on? By SkyBlue847. Okay, hear me out. I live in a complex that is built in a circle, so it's like a track. A lot of people use it to run, walk, etc. I've always used it to run/walk as well. I live in Florida, so I usually wear leggings and a sports bra or a tank top. I literally only wear it because it's insanely hot here. This woman always gave me dirty looks when I'd walk by her apartment. She'd be sitting on her porch. There are a few maintenance guys, not sure if that is the correct title for them, but that is what everyone calls them, that walk and ride around on golf carts throughout the day. I soon realized that the dirty look woman is married to one of the maintenance workers. I am always polite to them, but have never talked to them by any means. So, yesterday I was working out on the tennis court which is near their apartment. Her and her husband were sitting on the porch. She is giving me the dirtiest looks and is making me pretty uncomfortable, but I try to ignore it. Before I leave she says, "Do you get off on having the maintenance men check you out all day?" To which I replied, "Actually yes, it makes me super wet. They are what keeps my sex drive high." She looked shocked and her husband started laughing and then she smacked him on the arm. I came back and told my mom this story and she said I should be more sensitive, and obviously the woman is insecure. Now I kind of feel bad. AITA?
AITA for serving a pregnant woman a non-alcoholic cocktail? By YouGottaStopThat. I have waited tables for the last 3 years. During my shift last night, a group of 4 women in their late 20s came in. They were a pleasure to have as customers. They ordered 4 of our house cocktails to start with and then went over the menu for their entrees. When I was on my way back to their booth with the drinks on a tray, I walked by the back side and overheard one of them talking about how she was 14 weeks along. When I rounded back, they were talking about the same topic and it was clear to me that she was pregnant. I figured her having 1 drink wasn't a big deal. They ordered their entrees and I went off to handle other tables. About 5 minutes later, they called me over again and asked for another round. At this point I started getting concerned, but I took the order and cheerfully said I'd be right back. This time, I went to the bartender and asked him to make one of them a virgin cocktail. He was confused, but since he's a good friend of mine, I told him to just trust me. A few cocktails later, hers strictly virgin, they started getting rowdy, and Mrs. Pregnant Woman was also getting into it. I figured that since she didn't notice, things were okay. The problem came when I took them their check, and they asked to split the bill at the register. When Mrs. Pregnant Woman got to the counter, I saw her cocktails were marked with virgin. My bartender had edited each in the system for inventory. It was too late for me to edit them back, so I just had her pay, hoping that she wouldn't look at the receipt. They all thanked me and left, leaving a generous tip in the process. They were talking in the parking lot for the next short while, presumably waiting for an Uber. Several minutes later Mrs. Pregnant Woman came back and asked what virgin on the receipt meant. I fessed up that it meant non-alcoholic. She blank stared me for a few seconds and then asked if she had ordered a non-alcoholic cocktail. I said no, but told her that I assumed she wanted one seeing as she was pregnant. It was a lame lie and I'll admit it, but she looked me in the eye and asked me to return her part of the tip. I did so. Then she talked to my manager. My manager took me into her office and literally shrieked at me until hoarse. I stood my ground and told her that I'm not going to be responsible for fuzz. She told me that she was taking me off the calendar until she decided what to do with me. She also informed me that I could get the restaurant in serious trouble for discrimination, and upon examination of my state's laws, she is correct. But when I talked to my mother and father about it tonight, they told me that they understood my position. The entire staff at the restaurant is against me, and I think that I'm going to call in and tell my manager that I quit, but I still feel in the right here. I would like some perspective on this and if I'm the asshole here.
AITA for telling my friend she got an STD from sleeping around? My only question, throw out one. I was hanging out with a friend of mine and a group of her friends. We were all talking and having drinks, and the topic of dating comes up in conversation. For some background information, I've only had one boyfriend, I'm 24, we dated for 4 years, and broke up about a year ago. I'm mostly a loner. I'm fine with being single right now and have no interest in dating at the moment. My friend knows this. She starts lightly teasing me in front of her friends, pretty much calling me a spinster. She dates a lot. Every week she tells me about 2 or so guys that she's slept with. This kind of started a pile-on, where everyone was teasing me, and giving me unsolicited advice. I tried to placate it, but she kept bringing the conversation back to me and my lack of a sex life. Eventually I got really heated, and just said, so is your crotch still burning or is that cleared up? What did they say about that? Was it guy 104 or 105 that gave it to you? Like 3 weeks ago she called me crying to take her to the clinic because she had painful itchy blisters on her groin, turned out to be herpes. I did it without judging her at the time. She quickly stood up and left the table. I tried to follow her to apologize and she went off about me outing her to her friends. She was telling me how I was the only person she trusted, and she couldn't believe I would act that way. I tried to remind her how she and her friends were dogpiling me, and she said it was just jokes, I didn't have to react that way. We are obviously not speaking right now. Was what I did justifiable self-defense? I know I probably wouldn't have done it without liquid courage. Edit. 1. I did ask her to stop, I was trying to keep things friendly. 2. I did not say that she had herpes. I said she had a burning crotch.
AITA for telling the principal that his punishment was dumb and taking my daughter out for a fun day instead by 1_Acanthocephala87. This happened last year before the world fell apart, just asking out of boredom. My daughter was in 2nd grade. She was in class and suddenly felt like she was going to vomit, so she tried to run to the bathroom. She didn't make it and vomited in the hallway. However, she was sent to the office for running out of class without permission. The principal called me about this and I had to come in. He told me that she was being punished and was losing her privileges to go on the field trip the next week. I told him that was insane considering she did it because she was trying to keep from making a mess and she's 7. She made a snap judgment that I think most people would make. On top of that, they sent her to the principal instead of the nurse. He refused to change the decision, so I took my daughter out of school for the last 2 days of the week. Since she was missing the field trip, I wanted her to have as much fun as possible, so we went to an amusement park, the movies, and to paint party. She told her father about this during his visitation time and he got very angry at me for undermining the principal. AITA
for refusing to visit my dad after my room was converted to an office/bedroom? By room throw 33. I used to visit my dad most weekends and all of summer. He recently got remarried to someone I actually have a decent relationship with. I also have 2 stepbrothers who are younger and who I don't really interact with. My dad has a 4-bedroom house, so all the kids have a bedroom. When I went to visit last month, I was surprised with a renovated room. And by renovated I mean it was converted to an office with a couch that pulls out to a bed. It did look nice, I suppose. Apparently my stepmother works from home and needed an office. I didn't cry or throw a tantrum. I slept in the room that weekend and have refused to stay the night since. I was really hurt and felt like I didn't matter. My mom tried to convince me to go back but gave up after I told her I was old enough to decide. My dad is stressing out and has apologized and said he'll change the room back, but honestly, I'm done. This was the final thing that sealed the deal for me. I told him that as well. I told him I'll come for day visits and we can have dinners, but I won't be staying overnight anymore. Was I the asshole? He did cry and I feel really shitty about it. Edit, I'm going to be 15 in a few months.
AITA for suggesting that my sister chose an easy love? By Tobeslim. My younger sister and I were very close when young but know so much now. I was born in fairly well-to-do Hindu family. I fell in love and married a Muslim man and had to convert to his religion. My family was pretty pissed off that I converted, but we've kept in touch. Recently my sister announced that she was in love with a guy she'd met while trekking and they had plans to marry. My mom invited me for a girls' day, just me, her and my sister at my parents' home for a fun day. My sister began to talk about her fiancé, how they hated each other at first but then fell in love, etc. etc. I was happy for her. It all began when I asked what religion he was. Imagine my surprise when she said that he was Hindu and the same community as our parents. This would mean that it would make my father absolutely over the moon. I asked her if she was sure she loved him, because it seemed unbelievable that she would meet someone from the same small community as our parents and fall in love. She got angry and told me that she was absolutely sure she was in love with him. I suggested that maybe she thought she was in love because it was easy and there was no challenges involved. I explained to her that if she was truly in love, she wouldn't choose someone so obviously a match. It was as though our parents chose him from a catalog. She told me that it didn't matter, she loved him and that's it, and I was being rude. I told her that I wasn't, I was just looking out for her and didn't want her to bear the brunt of societal expectations on who to marry. I then asked her if she was marrying him to appease our parents. At this point my sister blew up on me and began fuming that she was not a kid, she didn't need to appease anyone, etc. etc. At this point my mom told me, not her, to get out of the house. Later my sister told me never to contact her again, nor ever see her face or come to her wedding. She called me toxic. I was just looking out for her.
AITA for making fun of a girl for her dad's 9/11 death. By AITA Throwaway 841. I go to college in New York State. I am Muslim. I was very young when 9/11 happened, as were the rest of the people in my year. There's a girl in one of my classes whose father was in the World Trade Center. He died. Of course, this is very sad, and I pity the man, but not her. She's extremely racist. She hates everyone who isn't white or East Asian. But she especially hates Muslims due to her father's passing. So of course, we don't talk. But today, September 11th, was the day she exploded. I was wearing a hijab. She told me I should take it off out of respect for the victims and that it was the equivalent of a hat. I said no. She said that you Muslims did this, you need to take off the hijab to show respect. I obviously told her no. Then she went on a very long Islamophobic rant that I can't entirely recall because this was hours ago. But I remember she concluded by saying that Islam took away her father, so she wants to take away Islam. I'm still confused as to what she meant. She made a few comments towards me, and I went on my phone to de-escalate. She made more comments, I kept ignoring her. But then she said, "Yeah, you're not responding because you know I'm right." I don't know why that set me off, but it did. I told her no, I'm just busy texting my dad. She left the room in tears. My classmates are saying that she was in the wrong, but what I said was unnecessarily cruel. Now, I don't think I'm BC she started it, all I did was finish it. So, Reddit, AITA? Yes, I am aware I have spelling mistakes. I speak Arabic at home. Edit, for everyone wondering, the professor was out of the room. He'd already given us our lecture. AITA for tricking my copycat sister to cut her hair? By 8937 Apple. I have a younger sister who looks exactly like me. I am 19 and she is 16, but people have been mistaking us as twins for some time because of how close we resemble each other. We have same height, same skin tone, similar voice even. She also has a habit of being a copycat, from way of dressing to hobbies, even piercings. I know, It's cute if you look at from the outside, sisters dressing and looking so alike that they are spitting images of each other. Honestly though, it's annoying and creeps me out sometimes, like yeah, we are quite close too, but why does she always happen to pick up everything I pick up? I have been asking her to stop that, but she always insists that she really just finds it suiting her liking, that she just had to try it herself by getting similar, if not identical things that I have. One afternoon I was tidying up some costumes in my college showroom and found a rather cute brown and pink wig, looks like mushroom. I put it on, think it looks rather funny, so I snapped a picture of it and posted in my Instagram. I received a text from my sister asking if I really cut my hair. I did not mention it was a wig. The odd part is, while I somewhat have a feeling that she might copy that too, I lied and replied yes, I want a change of style. I went home when weekends came and lo and behold, my sister emerged with the same silly brown and pink bob cut, except this one is her permanent hair. She was very surprised that I arrived with my hair still long, then realized that I lied to her. She was furious that she had to cut that silly hairstyle because she thought I had it, but truth be told, I never asked her to. She should have seen it in my picture that hairstyle looks super silly, and yet she still tried to cut her hair that way. Our parents think that it was a really bad joke and wanted me to cut my hair too to make it up to her. I wonder why did they not stop her in the first place. While I feel sorry for her, I am somewhat glad that at least she won't be able to copy my hairstyle now with her hair so short, so I am keeping my hair long.
AITA for correcting my daughter's teacher about her name? By groveclover. My 7-year-old daughter's doing virtual school in our living room recently. I heard her teacher address a girl named Kelly a few times, which stuck out to me because my daughter's class is only about 15 kids and I know them all by this point in the year. A couple times more and I realized she was calling my daughter Kelly. My daughter's name is Keely, pronounced Keely. So after school was over I asked her if that had been happening all year in this teacher's class, and she said it had, and it really annoyed her. I asked her why she hadn't corrected the teacher if it annoyed her so much, and she said she had repeatedly at the beginning of the year, but the teacher kept calling her Kelly, so eventually she gave up on reminding her. I sent the teacher a quick email explaining the misunderstanding but got no response. This teacher teaches a special subject, think music, gym, art, or language, not just one grade level, so my daughter will be in her classes for the next several years, so we couldn't just wait it out. And how moments like these are handled now will set the stage for how my kid deals with similar situations on her own in the working world. I encouraged my daughter to come to class early or stay later again, thinking maybe she hadn't heard or understood her last time, so a quiet one-on-one would be better. She got to the class early and she told her very politely that her name was Keely, like really, instead of Kelly like jelly, and that people often get it confused, so she just wanted to clarify. So class starts and sure enough she gets called Kelly again almost immediately. So Terry's only so much self-advocation a 7-year-old can be expected to do. I just walked over and said, "Hi, this is Keely's dad. Her's name not Kelly. It's Keely. Hardy, sorry for any confusion." A few hours later I had an email in my inbox inviting my wife and I to a parent-teacher conference with the vice principal. The long and short of the meeting ended up being the school feels that while the teacher probably should have learned her name, that the real problem is she feels I challenged her authority by correcting her in class, and that the names were similar enough for it to not have warranted such drastic action. That surprised me. I couldn't believe a meeting was necessary, let alone that it cast blame on us. I can't tell if being that annoying my kid matters most parent that my grandmother the school teacher always complained about, or if the teacher should just learn her damn name because that's a basic part of her job. AITA?
AITA for refusing to accept my parents' gift and then walking out. By Throwaway748394. Throwaway as my dad uses Reddit. So I'm close to graduating high school and have been applying to universities and looking at some by doing the tours and stuff. My parents decided to give me a gift for when I graduate. It's $10,000 toward my uni costs. I remember screaming and hugging my parents and thanking them. That was until I found out the terms and conditions. I can only go to 2 universities, They are the ones closest to my parents, and they gave me a selection of courses I can pick from. Surprisingly, art degree is not one of them. So I told my parents that I can't accept the gift as I don't want to abide by some terms and conditions. I also told them it was kinda shitty to pay me to do what they want me to do. I explained that I now feel bad for being super excited because I definitely can't accept my gift now knowing what the rules are. This caused a massive fight where I was called ungrateful and that I'm not a nice daughter. So I walked out of the house and have been staying with a friend until this cools off. Reflecting back, I do think that I might be the asshole, but I'm unsure, so I've come to you. I will accept any judgment.
AITA for kicking out my girlfriend because she said my relationship with my brother was disgusting. By KMM222. I'm 22. I'm a legal guardian of my 15-year-old brother. We're very close and we have always been like that. He lives with me now, obviously. He often gets really sad. We recently lost our parents, so I comfort him as best as I can. So, about my girlfriend, we have been together for 2 years. She doesn't live with me, she stays over really often though, so she has the house keys. 2 days ago, she came over without warning me. Me and my brother were asleep on couch, he wasn't wearing a shirt because it was hot, and he was laying on top of me. She woke us up and made a scene in front of him. She said that our relationship was weird and disgusting and it's extremely concerning that he's so affectionate towards me. My brother was in tears and he even apologized to her. I brought him to his room and calmed him down. I went back to living room, she was sitting on couch, watching TV and acting like nothing happened. I told her to get the fuck out. She got defensive again and said that she was just stating her opinion without hurting anyone. I grabbed her wrist and brought her to door. I didn't hurt her, she was following me, I didn't use any force. She laughed, she called me few times but I didn't answer. Update, thanks for all the comments. I talked to her, she still said that she didn't do anything wrong, she didn't hurt my brother and it wasn't her fault that he started crying. I broke up with her. Also, little info, this doesn't happen often. We were on couch, watching TV and fell asleep. He laid on top of me after he fell asleep, he moves around a lot while sleeping.
WIBTA if I started calling my white coworkers by random white names? By tinanottiana. I moved from Georgia to the Pacific Northwest last year for a dream job after I graduated college. It was a little bit of a culture shock, because I went from being one of many black people around at any given time to often being the only non-white person in a room, let alone black person. There hasn't been a lot of overt racism, but there's been a lot of strange borderline situations that are amusing and race-related but not necessarily racist. For example, every white woman I meet mentions Beyoncé to me within the first 5 minutes. When I was sitting for my driver's license photo, the woman taking my picture opened with, "So, Beyoncé." So the problem in the post title is that I am the only black woman at my office, and I am constantly being called the wrong name at work, and I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. My name is Tina, short for Christina. Pronounced just like it looks, very easy name. For some reason, a handful of people at work call me Tiana, Tiara, or Tia, I think assuming that my name has to be more black sounding than it is. I am most often called Tiana, especially by one of the guys on our development team and by the big bosses for another team, which I think then confuses their team members back into calling me the wrong name again. The other thing is that apparently another black woman, elderly, not in the same position I'm in, used to work there and I get called her name, Mary, sometimes too. Sometimes people will look at my nameplate and ask me, "How do you pronounce that?" It's Tina. I have tried politely correcting this and I correct it immediately every time. From polite, just for the record, my name is Tina. To lighthearted, Tina, like Tina Belcher. In emails from me that say Tina in a million places, including my email address, I still get, "Thanks Diana." So, I'm considering doing the Twitter approach, where I just respond to coworkers who call me the wrong name with the wrong name. Like, "Chuck, thanks, Diana." Tina, "No problem, Chad." Jessica, "Hi Tiara." Tina, "Good morning, Jennifer." Would I be the asshole if I did this? I know it's passive-aggressive, but every form of polite correction hasn't worked, and I feel really disrespected by this, so I may as well have some fun with it. Edit, I am pretty overwhelmed by the responses, so I just want to add a couple of things. A lot of people have suggested that I gently and firmly remind people of my name. That's what I've been doing, and was my first line of defense. A lot of people have suggested I go to HR. This is the kind of nebulous thing HR doesn't really help with, and it isn't as serious as it could be. A lot of people who identify themselves as white have informed me that this isn't race-related. It is. I have been black for 25 years, and I have a lot of first-hand experience with racism, and I can identify it in my own life. It isn't overt racism, like a slur or an assault, but it is still race-related. I feel like a few people are almost getting it. A lot of people are referencing that Key and Peele sketch with a substitute teacher, which is literally a joke about how white people do this to black people, turned on its head. And finally, a few people have asked why I don't use Tina Turner as an example, since she's also a black Tina. First, I thought youngish white people would be more familiar with Tina Belcher, but I used Tina Turner as an example for our dean and he then affectionately nicknamed me Tina Turner, which took deprogramming from his EA to get over. Edit 2. No, I don't have a southern accent. I'm from Atlanta, and black people from Atlanta don't really have an indecipherable country twang. Plus, my working in an office voice is pretty practiced/neutral. More to the point, no accent makes the name Tina sound like Diana or Tiara. No, the people I work with aren't just idiots. As annoying as this is, they are not stupid people. No, I can't wear a "Hi, my name is" sticker or a name tag. We have a business professional dress code. Yes, I correct them every time. No, it's not because I'm not memorable or a bad employee. Responding to this post saying, "Okay Shaniqua" or some other racist caricature of a name truly misses the point, as this is already what my coworkers are doing, Diana being the Shaniqua in this instance. Several people have alarmingly said, "Okay, Trayvon," and invoking the name of a dead black child at the idea of me calling a white guy Chad is very weird.
AITA for cancelling my wedding because fiancé almost got my dog killed? By MyDogIsMyGuard0. Me, 28M, and fiancé, 27F, have been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months. I also have a 7-year-old lab mix who is the greatest dog in existence. On Saturday, fiancé had a bachelorette party at home. I stayed with my parents but I left the dog with her because she likes having him there. However, I made sure to tell her to put the dog in our bedroom once the party gets going. 5 a.m. on Sunday I get a frantic call that something's wrong with the dog. She was drunk, so I told her to get a taxi and go to the emergency vet clinic. When I got there, she looked like she hadn't stopped crying for hours and she couldn't even speak. 2 of her friends were there so they told me my dog is alive but not well. I felt sorry for her for an entire 10 minutes while waiting for the doctor. But then, the doctor told me my dog ingested large amounts of alcohol and chocolate edibles. The girls apparently thought it would be cool to leave everything out on short coffee tables, leave the dog to wander around instead of putting him in our bedroom, and then get wasted and not notice he was going to town with the booze and edibles. When we got home, I told my fiancée to pack and get out of my house and my life. I told her to tell her guests the wedding is off, and I'll tell mine. She was shocked, but she took her things and left. 2 hours later, I get bombarded by messages on Messenger, WhatsApp, by her sister's brother's wife, her mom, her friends, telling me that I am insane to do this to her after 4 years. They started off defending her, but it quickly turned into insulting me. The logical thing for me to do was look for comfort in my friends and family. Nope. They all fucking agree. My mom said, well, it was a mistake, she didn't do it on purpose, besides, the dog didn't die. Lucky me, eh? My dog didn't fucking die. My sister was appalled that I cancelled the wedding over that. And even my best man said I might have overreacted. Yes, our relationship has had ups and downs, but it's mostly worked fine. But I am so disgusted at my fiancée that I can't even imagine looking her in the eye, let alone spending my whole life with her. She isn't fucking 17, she is 27. By the way, this is not the first dumb thing she has done. She likes to text while driving, she always leaves stuff on the electric stove, like kitchen towels, the cutting board etc., even though she has turned on the round burner and burnt whatever was on it several times in the past, and similar dangerous things. It's not something I hold against her in the sense that I would ever mention in a fight, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried that she might end up killing herself or someone else. For example, my dog. I'm 99% sure I will stand by my decision. But am I really an asshole? Literally nobody is on my side and I have no idea what to think. Edit, posting here kind of triggered me to conclude this isn't about the dog at all. She is negligent and irresponsible and I don't want to stick around and possibly see our child die in a car accident someday because she was texting or she forgot to put his seatbelt on. I'd rather be an asshole now than spend years of my life worrying every time our child is left alone with her. If she'd accidentally killed a person while texting and driving, I would also leave her. I guess I realized I don't want to spend my life with someone who has such blatant disregard for human, or animal, life.
AITA for bringing my garden with me when I moved? By GardeningMonster. I've 25 have been renting a house since I was 18, 7 years. When I moved in, the backyard was a large piece of dirt, no lawn or anything, just a decently big backyard with a fence all around. It was a cheap but not great house, but I signed because I wanted the backyard space. Over the past few years I erected a small garden shed, greenhouse and pizza oven, transportables, planted lots of veggie gardens in big transportable garden beds, and put down some nice pavers, an aquaponics setup, and generally made the backyard a really green and beautiful place to be. It became the green oasis all my friends gathered at. A few months ago, my landlords let me know they were planning to sell, and my final move-out day was a week ago. When I left, I brought my garden with me to my new place. Nothing in my last backyard was directly planed into the ground, and nothing permanent. I dismantled the sheds and greenhouse, loaded up all the pots and garden beds onto a truck and cleared the backyard in 3 days with lots of help. My former landlords are furious over this, and demand that I return the backyard to the former state. Apparently they'd listed the house for sale with pictures of the backyard and potential buyers were walking away from the house when they saw the barren backyard. They're accusing me of stealing their plants, and wrecking the backyard. Legally I'm fine, my contract said I could garden, and I have photos from the first real estate walkthrough before I moved in that show that the backyard was in the same state as I first found it, although with more fertile soil now probably. The same real estate agent signed off my final inspection, and I got my deposit back. I've received mixed responses though, because I saw the landlords taking pictures of my backyard before I left but didn't make the connection because when pictures of a house has furniture in it, you don't expect to also get free furniture. Some of my coworkers suggested that AITA because the house valuation certainly has fallen dramatically because I didn't tell them I was taking my garden with me, so they couldn't plan to landscape before lockdown hit. TL, Dr. AITA for moving my garden that I built from my former rental house into my new house, upsetting my former landlords who didn't expect me to take it with me.
WIBTA if I send my parents to jail? By Healer_Helheim. My 29F parents have always been in financial trouble, something that I have never been able to understand because they both have a really generous salary, more than 3 times my own. Because of these financial troubles, my aunts, uncles, and grandma have had over the years to lend them money. We were evicted a couple of times, that I know. We have had the water, the electricity and the internet cut. Many things that over the years I admit have affected my emotional and mental health. All of this has made my relationship with my parents very difficult over the years, more when they would take advantage of me, making me pay for many things with the money that I earned working during holidays to pay for college, or making me call my grandma to ask her for money, all of it while my mum used to spend money whenever she could in purses or jewelry. In the moment I became an adult because they started to sign on the bills under my name without my permission, mostly because their credit was so bad that the companies wouldn't allow them to sign with their own names. When I figured it out I asked them to stop, but they just lied about it and I just let it go because I couldn't deal with it. Fast forward to the present, Because of the Rona situation, I was looking forward the money from my income tax return, because my salary has gone down, so this money would have helped a lot. Instead of it, I received a letter from a courthouse saying that the money has been confiscated. I immediately phoned my mum and she said that she didn't know anything about it, but she will fix it. Since I don't trust her at all, I called the court myself, and then they explained me that during the last year there has been a process against me by a company I owe money from unpaid bills. All the papers had been sent to my parents and they had signed and take them. The debt was not paid with the money from the tax income, so part of my salary from now on will be confiscated too until is fully paid. So my parents stole my identity to contract a bill under my name, didn't pay for it, and when the company claimed the debt through lawyers and a judge, they kept all the papers from me, which is also illegal, apparently waiting for all of it to be fixed by itself. My mother said that it was her right to put it under my name because I am her daughter and it is my duty to help with the family burdens. Since then, and after really nasty words from her side and my sisters, who says that I am ungrateful and selfish, I haven't spoken to them, and I am in the middle of a global pandemic with my salary already low, paying for a debt that it is not mine. My friends and boyfriend say that I should talk with the police and stop all of this because otherwise they will keep doing it, and I am afraid they will. So, WIBTA, if I speak with the court, even if it means that my parents, 70 and 63, could go to jail? Edit. Answers to some questions here.
AITA for possibly stealing from a convenience store multiple times and not saying anything about it. By unusually_hard. For the last year I've had a rewards card to a local gas station chain that lets me get deals and store coupons. About a week ago I went into the store to get a beverage, and swiped my rewards card before swiping my debit. However, after the card reader finished processing the rewards card, the total due went to zero and the cashier asked if I wanted a receipt. At this point I figured I had just used a deal I don't know about, but the next time I went the same thing happened. So the next several times I've gone I've made around $10 purchases with a variety of different items, and every single time it's been free. I'm thinking something is wrong and I should tell someone, but I kinda wanna keep getting free stuff. AITA? Update. Hi guys. I thought I had the golden ticket, I really did. I thought I had the coveted, all expenses paid, lifetime gas station experience moving forward. The rewards card that wouldn't stop rewarding. Last night I dreamed about all the bags of mixed nuts, the hardest of the boiled eggs, the bottles of old orange juice, the not so hot dogs that have been rolling right next to the Hispanic egg rolls for the last 6 hours, that were just sitting there waiting for me to get my grubby, stinky little paws on them. I wanted to ask you fine people if I was the asshole real quick before I went balls deep and pilfered my way through a Midwest convenience store chain. I'll be honest, I didn't care what people said though. I was high on the fact that I had, more or less, the most power in the entire world. After I made the post I made my daily trip to indulge in my kingdom, not caring that like 15 people on my post had just been like, I mean you kinda suck as a person overall, like a 0-10, also you're ugly and your posture is bad, you need to fix that, it's good for your spinal health and overall makes you feel better and more confident, but yeah, you shouldn't steal. I made my way around the store picking up every possible box of hard-boiled eggs, and also grabbed an energy drink cause I was sleepy. And then I went to perform the maneuver. I strode passionately, arms filled to the brim with eggness, to the front counter. It was a gift card. I had completely forgotten my giver of birth had given it to me like 2 months ago, and it had stayed hidden in my wallet until last week. In a frantic, anxiety-filled search for the rewards card, I found it and my dumb little brain couldn't read the text that said gift card on the bottom. I'm not going to lie, a tear or two fell when the cashier was like, alright weirdo, there was $5.29 left on that, now you owe $43.82. But I sucked it up and paid, and now all I have is sadness and a fair amount of protein and amino acids at only 77 calories per portion. TL, doctor, I thought I had it all but now I just have a lot of eggs. Update 2, to everyone saying this is a made-up story, I can tell you unfortunately it is not. I wouldn't be able to exaggerate something like this.
AITA for refusing to pay at a restaurant that was false advertising. By GimmeBigSteak. So my girlfriend, her 27 me 28, wants to go to this fancy new restaurant in the city that she's heard good things about. We get there and it seems like one of those hipster places, but whatever, I'm hungry. I look at the menu and this place is crazy expensive, like every dish is more than $15, $20 and half the ingredients I've never heard of. I order the bison steak, $26, and my girlfriend orders some weird pasta, gnocchi I think, $18. Very important, these were listed as entrees on the menu. Mind you, with drinks plus tip this is going to come out to over $60, which is already ridiculous for dinner for 2 people. So anyway, we order as we are starving. My steak arrives and I am shocked. It's like 6 small pieces of sliced steak with some weird sauce on the side and a small handful of salad. I joke to the waiter, "Where's the rest of my steak?" And he explains they serve smaller portions at this restaurant because they focus on getting the highest quality ingredients. I don't care if this bison was blessed by the Pope himself, it's absurd to charge that much for such a small bit of steak. It's highway robbery. When I go to restaurants I expect an entree to fill me up and be enough for leftovers. I'm complaining to my girlfriend and she's getting annoyed with me. Similar situation with her pasta, it was like maybe 12 pieces of gnocchi dressed up with some frou-frou bullshit. Granted the food was pretty good, but I cannot get over how tiny these portions are. I'm a big guy and I like to eat, what can I say? When the waiter comes back I inform him we will not be paying for our meal, and that they are falsely advertising entrees that barely qualify as a light snack. My girlfriend is begging me to stop, but that's where we're different. I don't let businesses push me around and rip me off. A manager comes and apologizes but asks us to leave. I don't end up paying as they realized I called them out on their bullshit. My girlfriend is silent the entire time on the way back. I'm still hungry, so I drive through McDonald's and get a burger, and when I did that she asked to be dropped off at her place. It's now the next day and I'm starting to think I didn't handle the situation as well as I could have. I could have probably just asked for a discount. My girlfriend hasn't responded to my texts, so now I'm starting to think I'm an asshole. Am I the asshole?
AITA for giving my son a bill for half his expenses? By relative permission 5. My son, 17, asked me for a new gaming system and I said no because he already has plenty of gaming systems and games and doesn't need more. If he wants one he can save up and buy one. He then comes to me with a budget on how we can afford the system. It was mostly just that if I buy nothing for myself for 2 months, we'll have enough for the system. I told him hell no, it's offensive, and if he wants the system he has to save up for it. Then he comes back with another budget. He and his father calculated how much I've been paid in child support over the years and they decided it would be a good idea to let me know how little a drop in the bucket the gaming system would be. I told him I spend that on his expenses every month, but he didn't believe me, so I told him that if he doesn't think so, he can pay me for his expenses every month and I'll give him the child support. Surprise surprise, when I gave him the bill, it showed that when you factor in all of the things I pay for in a month, it's much more than child support. Child support doesn't even cover 30%. Now my ex is yelling at me for making our son feel like an expensive burden, but I think I was teaching him a lesson about money and I'm teaching him some of what my ex says about support. AITA for giving him a bill? ETA, not able to comment, but just wanted to say this isn't a question of being able to afford the console. I can afford it, but that doesn't mean he should just get it.
AITA foregoing no contact with my parents after learning they had lied to me about my allergies all my life. By TroubleInGluten. Hey everyone. I am 19 years old and my parents are in their 50s. For as long as I can remember, I have been allergic to several things. Dairy. Wheat/flour/gluten. Legumes. Since I was a young child, my parents have completely kept all of them out of our house. While other kids ate breakfast cereals, I ate fish and assorted pickled vegetables for breakfast. While other kids had Lunchables, I had grilled chicken or fish with, again, assorted vegetables, usually sweet potatoes. While other kids ate birthday cake at the birthday party, I had an apple. I never questioned this until a couple of months ago. I was at my aunt's house for my birthday party, and she made brownies for everyone. For me, she took great steps to make them with almond flour and avoided all of my allergies. I started eating them and thought little of it until my aunt suddenly looked at me and, in a panicked way, asked which plate I took the brownies from. I pointed from the one where I got my brownies, and she immediately stood up and told me we had to get my EpiPen. She raced to ask my mother for it, and I sat there scared out of my mind because I had never mistakenly eaten flour before. I noticed my mother had calmed her down, and then she said that we don't have to worry because she had switched the plates of brownies, and after all I had eaten the ones made with almond flour. I found this incredibly odd because, really, why would she swap the plates? That doesn't even make sense. But for the time being I let the issue rest. It didn't sit well with me for about a week and I finally went to get an allergy test. The doctor started with a skin prick test, and lo and behold, I didn't react to any of the above substances. Then he ordered a blood test, and when the results came in, they said that I had absolutely no intolerance to any of the foods I'm supposed to be allergic to. I was furious and called my mother. She eventually admitted that she lied to me because she wanted me to be on a Paleolithic diet, and wanted me to be able to avoid all temptations. She raised me with a lie about her own health, but she keeps insisting that I try to see it from her perspective. She spams my phone with messages about how healthy I am, that I never had acne, that I have been in great shape my whole life, that I have strong teeth and bones, and even that I got onto a D1 college tennis team. She has started calling me ungrateful for her intervention and insisting that I really should be glad I never got carb addicted. I don't know what to think. I carried around an EpiPen for all those years, one that I suspect may be fake seeing as my mother never got me to replace it and I don't even know anymore. Am I the asshole and an ungrateful son for losing it over this?
AITA for privately asking my friend about the paternity of her children by paternity question 9. Saw another post that reminded me of this situation. A few years ago, my close childhood friend gave birth to triplets. Her husband is a light black man. Of the three, two were the same skin tone as her husband, and the third was much darker. The skin tones made me a little suspicious that her husband might not be the father. I pulled her aside privately and asked her seriously if her husband was the father. She didn't even listen or answer rationally, she just freaked out at me and acted super insulted and kicked me out. I reached out to her husband and told him about her reaction and told him he should get a paternity test, and he called me an asshole and blocked me. Neither has spoken to me since. I've always thought that they dramatically overreacted and were probably hiding something because of their responses, but they're still married and sometimes I feel bad about what happened. I just felt a lot of empathy for her husband because I would be devastated if I wasn't confident that I was the father of my future children. Was I an asshole for asking privately? Edit. Okay, I get it, I'm an asshole. I want to make it clear that I didn't think the triplets had different fathers. I'm not an idiot. I thought it was possible, given the skin tone of the third triplet, that all three were fathered by a darker man and the first two were a bit lighter because my friend was very fair.
AITA for reminding my husband's female friend that my husband is my husband, and not hers? By LikelyAhole. Update has been posted at the bottom. My husband Jake and I have been together for 6 years, and he has been friends with Carly for 2 years longer than that. I suspect that Carly has feelings for Jake, but he has never had feelings for her. I've never been thrilled about their friendship, but I trust my husband and have total confidence that he would never cheat. A year ago, Carly moved into our neighborhood. She lives alone, and she picked up the habit of asking Jake to help her with housework and maintenance. When her water heater broke, she called Jake. When she needed help setting up a TV, she called Jake. When her trees needed trimming, she called Jake. Etc. etc. You get the idea. Jake and Carly also work near each other downtown, and a few days a week she'll ask him for a ride to work when she doesn't feel like driving. She's also started dropping by our house unannounced, usually when she's having a bad day and wants to vent to Jake about it. She relies on him heavily for emotional support 24/7. While I've tried to be patient and respectful of my husband's friendship with her, I have become less and less tolerant of Carly in the past few months as I feel she's become a constant presence in our marriage. The final straw came yesterday. As a medical worker, I've been pulling insanely long hours at the hospital. Yesterday I finally had a day off and I was very excited to spend some time with Jake. Just after breakfast, he received a text from Carly asking if he can help her move some furniture around because she decided to redecorate. He told her he can't because it's my day off and we're spending the day together. She then calls him and explains that it shouldn't take more than an hour, and her living room is a mess and she really could use his help getting things in order. At this point, I snapped. I took the phone and told her that Jake had said no and she needs to respect that he wants to spend time with me, his wife. When she started to argue, I said I'm sorry Carly but I think it's time for you to find your own husband, and hung up. Jake was shocked and thought that I was far too harsh. He thinks that I should have some compassion and said how would you feel if you were 35 and alone and without many friends? I feel sorry for her. At that, I questioned whether or not I was actually in the wrong here. Reddit, AITA. Edit, you all are right. I should not have included a description of Carly's physical appearance. It's not relevant to the story. Update. Jake and I drank some wine and had a long talk about Carly. We both apologized. I said I was sorry for making a harsh comment to Carly, and he apologized for making me feel like he sometimes prioritizes her needs over mine. He said I will always be his one priority, and moving forward he will make that extra clear to Carly. He said that he should have set boundaries long ago and that Carly needs to learn to be less dependent on him. After that, we drank more wine and went through the comments on this post. We had a lot of laughs, plenty of things we agreed and disagreed with, and a lot of eye rolls. Reddit, you never fail to entertain. Special shout out to you/chxpnt you/1000 lives of magic and you/pale hero. We enjoyed your comments the most. After further discussion, Jake decided to give Carly a call. I apologized for my comment, and then I gave the phone to Jake and left the room so they could talk. I didn't hear the conversation, but according to Jake it did not go well. Carly was upset and defensive when Jake told her she was in the wrong for arguing after he and I had both told her no about the furniture moving issue. She didn't think she had crossed any lines and she told Jake that I was being too sensitive, controlling, and that I'm trying to end their friendship. Jake defended me and said it was his own idea to set boundaries and that I've never told him to stop being friends with her. They were both upset when the conversation ended. If either of us hear from her in the upcoming days, I'll post another update. Thank you all for your thoughtful comments and insight. We sincerely appreciate it. Except for those of you who commented that Jake must be cheating on me, y'all are the biggest assholes here. For the record, after reading the comments, Jake and I would both vote ESH on my post.
AITA. My husband won't let me sleep. By Drudawgthedrood. Okay, so I work 12 to 16-hour shifts at an extremely labor-intensive job that requires the use of heavy machinery. My job is dangerous and I need to stay focused while at work. This part is important. So, my husband has a friend who is a truck driver. His friend calls at odd hours every night. Usually between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., my husband always accepts these calls and then proceeds to have very loud, very long conversations right next to me, which inevitably wakes me up and keeps me awake. I have asked him firmly, but politely, to either take the calls at a later hour, or to leave the room while he talks so that my sleep is not disturbed. He refuses to do this, and says that he has to answer the calls to help keep his friend awake while he is on the road. I understand wanting to help a friend, but I do not understand needing to keep me awake while doing it. So, for the last week, I have been locking myself in the guest bedroom and sleeping on the guest bed when I have a shift scheduled. Now my husband is angry and says that it hurts his feelings that I am no longer sleeping next to him every night. AITA.
AITA for telling my niece that my husband is dead? By spacecadetcenttal. My husband died last year. We have 2 beautiful children that are now 5'8". When he died, my sister made the trip up to the funeral. She lives in a different state. Her husband stayed home with their kid. I didn't think that was weird. Fast forward a year and my sister decided to visit me, with kid and husband in tow. Her daughter is now 7. At first it went well, the kids were playing. Then my niece asked me when my husband would be back. I was taken off guard and she says from his business trip. Some prying makes me realize, my sister never told her he died. Now, in other circumstances, I would let it go. But my kids are still adjusting to daddy being gone. We're all in therapy. I didn't want them to hear this and think he was coming back. So, I sat my niece down and explained my husband died. When she asked why, I kept it simple and said he was sick. She was fine and didn't seem upset. Well, my sister is pissed. She said that's her daughter and she doesn't understand death. I said I have a kid younger and she gets it. She told me that I should have asked her first. I said she should have told me she was advertising my husband as alive. Bill is torn between us. AITA?
AITA for refusing to share a room with a 1-year-old, twin 2-years-olds and a 4-years-old? By itsmyboatbitch. So F18 was recently invited up to my aunt and uncle's, he'll call them Aunt and Uncle B, ranch house for the 4th of July, and told I could bring a friend. Now, this aunt and uncle have a pretty big house. Their ranch house has 4 bedrooms with queen beds, the master bedroom, and the kids' room which is a massive room with about 6 beds, some bunked, and a loft. They've got a lot of land around the house too, so I was excited to get some time to goof off and run around with my friend, also F18. I know that other cousins are going to be there, and assume that my Aunt B and Uncle B thought beds through and everything like that. The other people invited up to the house were Aunt G and Uncle G and their son M16 who we'll call F, my Uncle P, and my aunt and Uncle H. H's are baby cannons. They have 4 kids under the age of 5, none of whom sleep through the night. I've been to their house before, it's horrible. Anyway, my friend and I get up to the house and learn that we are expected to share the big bunk room with the kids under 5, while their parents get their own room. Uncle P, Cousin F, and Aunt and Uncle G, are also in their own rooms. G shared one. I was upset. But, wanting to stay up there, I said okay, my friend and I can sleep on the couch. Cue a massive explosion. The baby cannons are pissed that I don't want to sleep in the same room as their children. Their kids are horrible at night, and someone needs to watch them, so it should be me and my friend because I got to invite a friend. I said that if they wanted someone to, Cousin F could, but Cousin F apparently needed his sleep because he's a growing boy and he doesn't know how to take care of kids. None of the other people in the house wanted to get involved. The aunt and uncle who own the house didn't care much and just told us to figure it out. So I ignored the baby cannons and sat up on the couch with my friend. Cue the baby cannon's mother. She throws all of our stuff off of the couches and tells me and my friend that we have to sleep with her kids or we can't stay. At this point, I'm mortified by her behavior because I have a friend. My friend is embarrassed and doesn't know what to do. So I tell them I'm leaving. Cue more screaming. I drove up my father's boat. If I leave, there is nobody with a truck to drive the boat around, the world is ending. I say that either my friend and I are sleeping on the couch, without the small children, or we're leaving. Well, baby cannons weren't okay with that. So, I packed up my stuff, reattached the trailer for the boat, and left. Now I'm getting texts from relatives that I was rude and could have handled it better, and that the baby cannons need a break from their kids and I'm young so I can be a nice family member and deal with it for them. AITA here? Update 7.1, my father has banned the baby cannon from ever going on the boat again. Aunt B is getting involved and is considering asking the baby cannon family to leave for the weekend and to not come back until they can be more considerate of relatives. Uncle B is offering to pay for me and my friend to go on a backpacking trip. My friend and I go a lot, and says that he feels bad for how the baby cannons acted.
AITA for not telling my ex I got pregnant by daisycherryblossoms. I, 28F, was with my ex-husband for about 6 years. During this time, we were trying for a baby but had no success. About 4 years into our marriage had a rough patch. My ex had stress at work and slept with his coworker to relieve it. He confessed to me rather quick and a week later, they sat me down and told me they were expecting a child. I was an idiot back then and so I felt like I should forgive him because I truly believed he loved me and I thought I had no one. It wasn't. My ex's family treated me like their own, but my ex's supposed daughter was the apple of their eye. As a result of that, my ex's coworker was frequent presence in our lives. They felt like they had to include the mom of their grandchild for everything too, and she made her way in every family picture and memory. It didn't help that I suspected that the coworker had feelings for my ex and flirted with him when she can. People thought that she was my ex's wife constantly, and I finally had enough when during the baby girl's first birthday party when I was told to take a picture of my ex, his mistress, his daughter, and his parents, and it didn't include me. It hit me that I was now treated as the other women, and I realized that I deserved more than this bullshit. I filed for divorce a few months later and left. It was the hardest time of my life, but I ended up getting a promotion at work and met this sweet, wonderful guy. Fast forward to now, me and my boyfriend are madly in love, and I gave birth to an adorable baby girl that I considered a miracle baby. I got pregnant with my boyfriend like 3 months after dating him, and I thought that it was strange that this could happen since my previous failed attempts with ex and had thought that I was the infertile one. It crossed my mind then that maybe he was the infertile one and he only believed mistress was pregnant with his child because they were having an affair. I didn't say anything though because it was not my place anymore. However, my boyfriend was so happy about my daughter's birth and posted it on Facebook and tagged me in the post. I was still friends with my ex Sil on FB, and she saw the post. She called me up and said that she was hurt that I didn't let her know that I could actually get pregnant and the lack of child during my first marriage could be my ex's fault. He took a paternity test. The poor baby girl was never my ex's. The coworker apparently was dating this terrible guy during the time she slept with my ex and didn't know who the child's father was, so she just strung my ex along cause she had feelings for him and thought he'd be the best father for her child. Now my ex blames me for not telling him that I was pregnant way before and him having to father this girl. He's doing pretty bad now and I can't help but feel guilty, like I should've told him. Edit. I didn't realize that I could edit my post even after the 3,000 character limit. Okay, so first of all, I keep seeing that people have seen other posts like mine in some YouTube video. If so, I'm upset that others have had similar situations as me and that some people find the situation so hilarious that they make a video out of it. I've also never posted on Reddit before. I had a previous account for browsing, not posting. I don't think I have to prove my story, and I honestly posted this not to seek validation that my ex supposedly is the worst ever, but to gain perspective since my ex and his family were my family and close confidants for a large period of my life. We were pretty close and I had promised to keep in touch after the divorce, which they were super upset about, but I really couldn't after everything that happened between us. They're now super pissed at me for the divorce and for being complicit in my ex taking on the expenses of his not daughter and forming a paternal connection with her for longer than he should. Edit. So here's what's been happening right now. I haven't spoken to them after this and have been avoiding my ex's calls. He texted me saying that he is sorry and overreacted and felt guilty about prioritizing people who were never really family over me. I only replied with asking how his daughter is because even though she isn't biologically his, she's still his girl. She seems like an adorable kiddo and adores her dad. Frown. My ex's mistress is able to support the girl financially, so my ex won't contribute to that, but he says that he's still going to see her every month because he feels morally obligated to. I feel bad for the girl so much because she seems to have lost her family unit, dad, grandparents, cousins.
AITA for dropping the "we're not having kids, now stop bringing it up" bomb on my mill? By childfreeusername. My husband and I don't want kids. My mill is big into family in the traditional sense. She has been pushy with us about having kids since we got married. Literally the week after we got engaged, she started asking. My husband has always changed the subject, and has even told her that it's really none of her business. Every time we see her, she asks. Everything we do is built around the idea of us having kids. 3 years into our marriage, my husband said we might not even have kids and Mill would not hear it. At year 4, husband had a vasectomy and I had a tubal. So this weekend we were all at their home enjoying some barbecue and drinks and everything. When I get up to grab a beer, my Mill asks me if maybe I should drink water instead, because wink wink nudge nudge, you never know. I was annoyed by this and said there's really no chance. Mill, all wide grin, said, "Oh come on, it's time for you two to finally get serious. Put down the beer and tell us when we can finally expect you two to finally make your family official." I said we've been official for about 5 years now, Mill, and drink the beer. Husband laughs with me. Mill gets more annoyed and says, well, you won't be real, last names, until you bless us with babies. Husband said, Mom, enough. Mill pushed again. Husband repeated. After about 15 minutes of the usual comments, I finally snapped and said, Mill, husband got snipped. I had my tubes tied. We're not having kids. You need to stop bringing it up. Period. Well, I thought I started World War III. She started crying and stormed off. Family looked at us with disgust and stormed off to comfort her. We left. Party kinda ended. The social media bullshit started shortly after. Vague posts, links about how motherhood is a woman's greatest calling, listicles about how unhappy childless women are, etc. Some meme about how I guess I wasn't a good enough mother and won't be graduating to grandmother. It's obnoxious to the point that I just muted all of them. My Mill finally called me this morning and told me that she was willing to put this all behind us if husband and I came over and listened to her reasons that we really need to have kids. I told her no, that we are tired of her pushing this on us, and then she said, well then, I guess you two aren't prepared to be real, last name S. I'd like a refund for what we paid for the wedding. It wasn't that much. It was like $400 for the rehearsal dinner. I hung up on her. When recounting this to my friends, a few of them said that I was the asshole here for dropping it like that. But I don't think she was ever going to drop it if I didn't finally make a serious, direct comment about it. So AITA?
AITA for buying an extra airline seat, and utilizing it, even though I don't need it? By Reddit_app_is_trash. I hate flying to the point that I will gladly drove 10 to 15 hours to avoid a 4-hour flight. It's not that I'm scared of flying, I just hate everything from the security theater to the cramped seats that leave me sore for days. So I only fly if I can buy a second seat, or third if I'm flying with my wife. It lets me stretch my legs out if needed, not feel trapped mentally, and not sit next to annoying people, etc. Also, a second seat is almost always cheaper than business/first class, and for some reason they refund you if the flight isn't full. I'm a big guy, but I 100% don't need 2 seats. Gate agents are constantly baffled, and one even said you're not nearly big enough to need 2 seats. On multiple flights I've had to argue with flight attendants and randoms that know I bought the second seat, and if they oversold the flight / some 400-pound guy didn't buy the second seat he needs and is killing his seatmate, it's not my problem. AITA for never backing down in this scenario that has happened 6 to 7 times at this point. If I was willing to fly with 1 seat I wouldn't have bought a second seat. Note, I do not take 2 seats on the train/bus ever. They are way more comfortable and you can stand whenever, etc., so I don't feel cramped and trapped like on a plane.